Yo, what's up, guys? Carl the Legend has pushed to #1 in the world. He's dropped to 3. It's actually 2 because there's a leaderboard glitch. But he has been so kind and given us his best replays of his push against some pretty hard matchups. So we're going to go over those today and hopefully do more videos with Carl in the future. Alright, so first matchup, Carl is facing Pekka Bridge Spam with Poison, which is a pretty... it's a pretty winnable matchup for Pekka. You definitely don't want to face Poison minions. I'd rather face Ewiz and Marcher. It's just easier to beat the Marcher Fireball version. Poison causes some problems, so this is not the most friendly matchup to be facing for sure. But as you can see, Carl went with that perfect battle ram. He spent a little bit, but as you can see, the opponent also has to respond to the Mighty Miner. So overall, it's a fine elixir trade and a perfect time in Mega Minion. Get some nice damage out of the way. So he is down 1800, but after taking all the bridge spam cards out of it, he can go lava. See, now he used his bandit, battle ram, and royal ghost, so he has nothing to pressure with. So except for like Pekka, but that would just be stupid to pressure with Pekka. So I think that's a pretty good play there, because at that point he doesn't know whether he's running fireball or poison, so it either forces out a fireball or forces out a poison. So now you know exactly what he's running, and so that was a pretty good play there. And not overcommitting with the balloon, just a cheap mega minion to come in here, which is nice because also the minions can't full counter the mega minion until it's locked on the tower. So you're definitely getting a lot more value out of the mega minion than the Pekka here. Yeah, this is a pretty good situation for Carl here. He's up 600 damage, and he's not even down elixir. He's actually up 3 elixir, which is actually like 3.5, but that's crazy to be up that much elixir and damage versus Pekka Bridge Spam. But as you can see, he didn't go in with a loon, an overcommitting loon push. Perfect tombstone placement. That's the placement I usually like to use, so that's pretty cool. And I'm interested to see if he's going to go with the Mega Minion again. Yeah, it seems like the best strategy because it's very cheap, so you can spend a lot of elixir on defense, and it still gets the job done because overall the opponent seems like he's going to try to prevent, or not prevent any damage. He's just going to go in all in on offense. Beautiful fireball. It's going to make it so he doesn't have to zap the Ewiz, and so only the poison connected on that push, which is very good for Carl. And if he spaces out his tombstones, he can avoid the poison. And as you can see here, what a perfect timing. Lava Hound, it's going to make all the pups get ignored. And also, this guy is spending all of his elixir on offense, so Carl is able to get some big damage. And Carl gives up a tower here. However, it was a very smart tower because he's not in danger of getting 3 crowned, and also he exchanged a tower for like 5,000 king tower damage. So right here, it is just going to be over. He has nothing for that Mighty Miner. He played it very patiently, no overcommitting Lava Hound pushes, and that's a very good example of how you want to play versus this Pekka Poison deck. Next up, Carl is facing Kodago, who is a really good player, and he's using the Miner Control deck. This deck is a very interesting matchup because I find that myself, I lose this matchup often, but not always. I've won this matchup quite a lot, and it seems like if it's like not a great player, you can win easily just because you can do things like lava skeleton dragons and then loon other side, and the guy gets overwhelmed. But good players usually don't do that. My key to this matchup would usually be just to try and take absolutely no damage. So cheap Lava Hound pushes or no Lava Hound pushes. And so he's taking some damage from the skeleton on the side, but it's worth it because, you know, you didn't want to overcommit on the left side. And so here, as you can see, he gets a lot of damage back. He doesn't have enough elixir for a rocket yet, so we are going to get a death bomb, it looks like. Yep, Carl gets a nice death bomb there, and that's going to give him the elixir and damage lead. It's nice because it's a 6-for-5 trade, so it's always, you know, a fine option for you to go with that rocket there. I'm interested to see how he's going to get damage because the miner chip and the log chip, and it just seems like more than you get from the Lava Hound because there's no real good way to stop a Inferno tower if you just place it in front of your tower. So Deep tombstones, trying to stall the Dark Prince for as long as possible, and maybe even let the tombstone stay alive. And so, I mean, he's not going in with the Lava Hound push, so there's no need to be careful of what cards you play. And there's a perfect balloon timing. He doesn't have enough elixir for Rocket or Inferno Tower, which is absolutely huge. So as you can see, it was very good play, because even though he doesn't get a balloon hit, he gets a death bomb and he's up a very large amount of elixir. Inferno Tower is out, so now he's going to take some damage on that that left side there from the Dark Prince, but you've got a whole Lava Hound on the tower and no Inferno Tower in sight. So slowly making that damage up, looking very nice. He's got the zap ready for the Inferno. The Skeleton Dragon also helping out with the Inferno, so he's actually going to manage to keep the Mega Minion alive. That's the good thing about putting Skeleton Dragons sort of towards the middle if you're defending, because they might get some nice little interactions like that. He's going to always respond to the miners, so that you make sure the opponent's not getting a bunch of extra damage, because this is a chip damage battle. And so you're going to see him zap the eye tower, try and keep this. Yeah, that's exactly what I would have done there. The right tower is more healthy, so we're going to leave the right tower alone. We don't have to defend the Dark Prince. Fireballing the Inferno Tower gets us extra lava chip on that side. That's just, if you think about it, it's just an extra 250 damage just from the extra Lava Hound chip. And as you can see, the Rocket's coming in, but he has very low amounts of elixir. So the Skeleton Dragons are going to come back, and he's got to respond to that, but he doesn't have a good response. So he takes a Death Bomb and a Skeleton Dragon hit. So a very nice situation. And it seems like as long as you're smart with your defense and you're pressuring him, as long as you can make his like cycle weird, you should be able to get a good damage lead. And it's pretty much over if you have a significant damage lead, because there's no way he can make it up. So as you can see, Carl mixed it up with the Inferno Towers. Or I mean, he made Kodago's cycle just completely disrupted with loons cycling, making his Inferno Tower come out and then punishing with the Lava Hound. It's just a very good way to play this matchup, and as you can see, he beat him because of it. Here, Carl the Legend is facing Fee, who is playing Queen Poison. I hate this Queen deck. It's probably one of my least favorite Mortar decks to face, Queen Poison Mortar. It's just a pain because the Poison and the Queen are almost always good enough to take out your push, and there's nothing you can do to take out the Queen if the opponent places them like behind the tower. So, you know, if you try and use the Skeleton Dragon's Fireball, you're not going to get any results, because the Valkyrie is there and the Poison's going to kill them before you can deal with the Queen. So a Tombstone and no response means you are safe to go with the Lava Hound, which he does. And the Mighty Miner is going to create opposite lane pressure so that he is forced to not spend too much elixir on defense. So as you can see, some nice lava damage. We're going to kill the Queen, and now he's got to respond to a Mighty Miner and a Mega Minion. So the zap coming in there because he's got very low elixir, and it didn't end up working out, but still up 300 damage, and keeping Fur Legend on his, what is it, heels? On his toes? What is that saying? I don't know, man. I'm not good with allegories, or whatever you call them. Yeah, but anyways, the miner comes down, he responds to the miner, because what's nice here is he's not going to take a bunch of miner damage, and also he is going to force out a response from these Skeleton Dragons. And a Valkyrie coming out here means that most likely Fur will not have a Queen or a Valkyrie to block the Queen when he goes in with his lava push, because he could cycle back, of course, but now that his mini tank is out, you can just go Mega Minion behind the lava and it will be able to take it out. And it's always nice to have his Valkyrie out of hand, so that way he can't pressure you opposite lane with the Valkyrie. We're going to go with, as you can see, Carl goes with the nice combination of the Mighty Miner Bomb and the Fireball to kill the Queen. And that's a fun fact. 2 Skeleton Dragon hits plus the Fireball kills the Queen, as well as the Mighty Miner Bomb and the Queen. So the Poison is in its last stages here, getting plenty of damage and forcing out a Mortar, which means that Fur has nothing to push with. If you force out the mortar on defense, then the mortar can't be used on offense, so you're not having to worry about defending another lane. Carl has constant pressure here, and as you can see, he's never built up a push. Fur's never got an offensive mortar down. So the Mega Minion's coming in hot. You've got to deal with that. He doesn't deal with it in time. It's going to be a nice connection there, and he has to spend all of his elixir on the right lane over there. So Carl's still getting some big damage. And also, he's got to cycle back to a queen because there is an imminent threat on his left tower. So Fur did make up a ton of damage, but you know, that's kind of how these things go. It's not always, you know, if I need to have the damage lead the whole game. It's you're gonna give up some damage against siege decks. It's, you know, it's just how you respond to that. And as you can see, the split lane pushes have been going on all game, forcing out. It's basically trying to confuse and get damage on both lanes, because if Fur Legend has to continue to like play defense in both lanes, it's a little confusing for him, and it could potentially mess up his cycle. Because if Fur Legend has a certain way he wants to deal with lava every time, like whether it's like he goes mortar and then he goes poison, or then he goes queen, disrupting that by going opposite lane is going to create way more opportunities for you to get damage. And as you can see, the fireball skeleton dragons do get rid of that, and it's game over, because Carl the Legend just played this amazingly. Also, I missed the opportunity to tell you that the tombstone behind the tower is very nice against mortar, because it can't be logged and it still distracts the mortar with the skeletons. Akbi up next. They are both pretty good Lava Hound players, so Akbi running the barbs. I actually beat Carl the Legend in a mirror matchup, just like this one. It wasn't quite a mirror because he was running barbarians, but it was the same matchup you'll see here. And I believe the Mighty Miner gives you the edge over the barbarians. It can get close, but I believe as long as you play pretty well and you don't give up some like barbarian in the pocket shenanigans, you should be fine from the Mighty Miner standpoint beating this matchup. I believe I also lost to Akbi because he got me good out of cycle with, you know, barbarians in the pocket, and it's kind of hard to defend them. So a tower trade is coming in, as you can see. Akbi gives up his tower to take a tower, and Carl gives up his tower to take a tower, except Carl gets the upper hand because Carl has the Mighty Miner on offense, and as you can see, he managed to actually defend that. So zapping, both exchanging zaps, but oof, that's a ton of damage, and that's going to get nerfed a little bit. But I want to go back and see something just for 1 second. The issue here was the hand. I think Akbi needed to go with the balloon first and then the Mega Minion, but the problem Carl gives him is that if he goes with the balloon first, Carl can still tombstone at the bridge to make the loon go in front of the Mega Minion, and then it's a beautiful situation. So by forcing him to make this Mega Minion first, Carl will be able to successfully defend and take a tower here. And so the Mega Minion's there, and I believe, how does he kill the skeletons? I believe he just, the tombstone yet kills him. So that's the goal there, is to go Mega Minion tombstone and pull it if you can. See, my thing is, if you are guaranteed to take his tower, then you can go tombstone Mega Minion. But if you if you're not going to take his tower, you're going to have to spend elixir on the fireball and the zap, in my opinion, just to make sure you're tower trading. Because if you don't tower trade, you are going to be in a sticky situation. And so, as you can see, this is not a good situation for Akbi. And it wasn't a starting hand issue either, because they both went lava first play pretty much. So it wasn't exactly a starting hand problem. It was more of a Carl getting that slight edge because of that tricky little play. And it's just a small place, you know. And you might not think of it as like huge, but that's a really good play that doesn't seem like it's that complicated. Just going with the it's a mental game too. It's a mental game, and this game's over because he fully defended. I don't know what that push was from Akbi, but it's a mental game too, you know. It's just these small mistakes that make Carl a better player. You know, completely dominating Acme here. And it wasn't even close. So let's get into the next one. I thought this matchup was going to be closer than it was, but Carl just completely dominated him. Alright, we've got Moutzi here, and he is running a really weird E-Giant deck. I don't exactly know what this is. I believe it's Carl's matchup, but it always gets tricky with E-Giant Mirror. He's got E-Giant, Flying Machine, Mirror, Lightning. The Zap is a little interesting. You can use the Zap on the Tombstone later, I guess, but it's not as effective as like the Log or the arrows for taking out the Tombstone. So he's going to respond with an E-Giant to the Mighty Miner. We're just chilling here. You don't want to go in with the Lava Hound until you've fully defended. That's always, I think, the general rule of thumb. For any matchup, just always go with the defense first. And then when you wrap up his push, then you can go in with the offense, because it's the safe play. And as you can see, he does exactly that. Now that there's no counter push immediately. The problem with going Lava Hound immediately is he can counter push. He can still counter push. You're just basically changing the time that he counter pushes. So like, if as you can see, the Mega Minion's a good play here because the Loon would just get nadoed to the King Tower. So if you defend first, then his counter push is not as deadly. But if you go Lava Hound, you're just sacking 7 elixir basically, and then you're going to try and respond to his counter push, and then you're not going to be able to because you're down 7 elixir, and then he's going to take out your Lava Hound and you can't spend any elixir to back it up. So as you can see, the Mighty Miner ability is probably happening soon. And nothing to it. The Zap there would be useless because he would just retarget it, and now he's down 2 towers. And as you can see, this is important. You've got to know when to do this, but if you play a nice defense or just kind of like pressure the opponent, then you can just use a Tombstone for the E-Giant, and he's not going to have any way to deal with it. Because like with standard E-Giant matchups, if you force out Elixir, then you are able to make it so that the Tombstone fully counters the lava, or sorry, not the lava, the E-Giant, because he doesn't have enough to lightning it. And so you're going to have to take advantage of that, since he always wants to lightning the Tombstone, since that's, you know, the only way his E-Giant's going to get to the tower. And since he knows that your Mighty Miner is useless against the E-Giant, so you really only have Tombstone. But it's a pretty simple matchup here. It looks complicated, but if you play with the right strategy, you're going to get a pretty easy dub. And as you can see, Carl sweeps this kid. He lost the tower, but that was really just a garbage time tower. So on to the last matchup. Alright boys, final matchup is against Muhammad Light, the Lightbulb himself. He is playing Mighty Miner bait, although he does have the princess. I believe it is an easier matchup to face the Dart Goblin. Now, you might have a differing opinion than I do about that, but my theory is that the Dart Goblin's range makes him so that he pretty much has to be in the same lane as you, so you can use your push to kill the defending unit, or defending units. Whereas the princess, you know, she could stay in the other lane, so you've got to spend elixir on a separate lane push to go take her out. Because fireballing the princess doesn't work every time, since your opponent has the ability to cycle pretty fast. And so, as you can see, the princess is the second priority because you want to make sure you get that damage. The princess taking out the princess is not as important as getting good damage early on. And so, as you can see, Carl is going to get 2 balloon hits, I believe. No, it's just 1 hit. But he is going to take a nice damage advantage using the skeleton dragons to take out the rocket, and then the loon to punish the rocket. And so, an important thing to know is that if you're going to go lava skeleton dragons, you cannot do it when he has Mighty Miner available, because he's just going to block you with the Mighty Miner, and then he doesn't have to use rocket on your push, so you're kind of screwed. So always defend the Mighty Miner first, so you guys are kind of like taking turns. Yeah, that's pretty simple there. It's going to be a little tough because in single and or sorry, in double and triple, he's going to have a nice fast cycle. So it's going to be hard to get that Mighty Miner out, but you're just going to have to play a really good balance of defense and offense. Yeah, approaching double time here. We are having the lead. Thank you very much. I would say he's going to guaranteed get more damage than you. So if it's this close, I think you're definitely winning from Lava's perspective. And just making it so that the Mighty Miner stays on the field for a little bit. And also pulling him towards the middle so he can't lock onto the tower. The rocket, I believe, comes in here. He misses the balloon, which is a play you wouldn't expect from Muhammad Light. But ultimately, that tower was going to go either way. So I don't think it's a big deal that he missed the rocket. So as you can see, I believe he tombstones in the middle, just to make sure that the Mighty Miner gets pulled towards the tombstone and can't immediately ability towards the tower. So tombstones in the middle are very nice there. And the split lane pressure is coming in here from Carl. He's got a lot of push down on one side. Here comes the Mighty Miner. Ability, fireball, I believe. Or no, he's not going to fireball that princess. He might, but I don't think he would. Yeah. Double lava coming down. It's a bit of a pain to deal with two lavas. And so just a small tombstone is going to allow you to get a ton of damage on this Mighty Miner. And so it didn't work out great, but as you can see, Carl's just exchanging damage here. So like, even though he took some damage, he's gonna hit both oh, he didn't hit both princesses, rip. But even though he's exchanging damage, it doesn't matter, because you're gonna it's just beautiful. Like, if you're exchanging damage with a cycle player, you will take that any day of the week. And so he's getting a ton of, he's taking a 1,500 2,000 damage from the Mighty Miner barrel push. But if your opponent is spending so much elixir there on the offense, he can't defend as well, which is why Carl ended up overwhelming there. All you need to do is bend, don't break defense. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to force elixir out of your opponent and defend it while having a good offensive push on the board. So I hope you enjoyed that long video with Carl. Yeah, hopefully the next one we will be on call, but I hope you benefited from that. And please drop a like and sub if you did.